As we discussed in our previous video, that after Vectorizer becomes a gateway to the tools that we have in our platform. So in this video, we will talk about the tools, and we'll start with our first tool, which is called Data View. So let me pull this Data View node here, and I can connect this to the Vectorizer. Now this tool has access of all the knowledge graph that is contained within this Vectorizer, as well as the connections of these databases that are connected. So there is just a connection and just the context of all these three databases connected here. There is no sharing of data between this tool or any of the database. So to start the data view node, you can click on this play icon, and it will ask you which databases that you want to use within this tool. So for example, I can deselect some of them, and let's go with these two. And then I can click on the configure agent, and the agent is configured. Now I can click on this gear icon, and I will be introduced this interface. Let's go through the interface really quickly. On the left side, I have this chat thread or chat window, and I have these two tabs for the chat and the table. The table gives me an ability to select and restrict my agent to work only with one of these databases or maybe some of the tables. And as you select these, you can add that to the prompt, and it will be shown here that these two tables of this database are connected, and anything that you will ask will contain these two as a must. And if you restrict that on a database, you can just query about one database only, and in this way you can only talk about this and create views of with only Adventure Works final database in our case. So let me clear that out. Let me go back, see that everything is nice and clean, and let's create our first view. The interesting thing about the data view tool is that you have this query interface where you can write a query as well if you really like to, and this results that will instantly give you an idea of the view. How does it look like? So let's ask one question, like I want to create a view of my customers purchased products and include the financial details in the view. Alright, so I have asked a general query that many people ask to create different views, to have some quantitative analysis, and as we haven't restricted our models to any of the databases, it will try to search for all of this information in two different databases, which is really interesting and useful when you have multiple databases and you want to explore what kind of information you have in multiple databases, as well as if you have multiple databases that are linked together over different keys. You can define that into the contextualizer node. You can identify those keys and indicate that these two keys in these two different databases are or corresponds to another database. So in this way, in this tool, it will try to identify any connection between databases. For example, in our case, we don't have any connections, but we have similar kind of data in both our databases, and it will try to search that information in both of these databases based on a very ambiguous query. So the objective of data view is to help users, assist users in data discovery, attributes discovery, discovering different attributes within your data, to assist you in creating different use cases. For different use cases, you want different views and you want to search for different attributes, and this eliminates the task of manually discovering different things within the data. When you have useful use cases and you want to see that which columns are relevant, which columns are not, you have to go through this whole exercise of discovering these relevant information, and this tool helps you do that really quickly, instantly. And as it's going through a huge set of corpus, so it's identifying the information, it's validating that if everything is right. There are a lot of models and agents that are working on the back end to ensure that any query that it will make is genuine and it's not malicious, it's valid, it contains all the right information, it's not hallucinating. So there are a lot of things that are going on in the back end of this tool. And once it gets ready, it will give you a set of queries, or a query. For example, in this case, it gave us an explanation that I have successfully created comprehensive views, customer classic models, returned that amount of rows, information of order, products, and payments, includes customer detail, name, contact, and that, and ordered information, product details, financial matrices. It has included a quantity ordered, unit price from this classic models database. And from the adventure works, it has returned this amount of rows. Although it's indicating the amount of rows, it has no access of the actual data within these rows. So it's only the number that it knows and only the column name that it understands. And based on all that information, it has generated. And both views use left joins to ensure all customers are including, even if they haven't placed orders yet. And it explains everything nicely. And you can see this query that it has generated. And you can click on this view and edit, and it will be there. You can edit it if you want. If there is a discrepancy, if you don't want to see some of the attributes, you can edit them as well here. And once you are satisfied with everything, you can click on Run Query, and it will run this query on your database directly and will pull that particular view or create that particular view from there. And once you get that information, you have this option to select or save that view back into your database. So this is very useful tool for discovering raw information within your database and discovering different attributes and seeing what kind of elements or what kind of columns are inside your data, what kind of data that you have in your database. So it helps you with all of that, all of those things. It will take a few minutes because this, as it told you, that this query is quite big and there are there are thousands of rows, so it is actually trying to pull that information directly from the back end to the front end and adding that information in. And voila, so you can see that it is displaying these 24 columns and 12,000 rows in this case of classic models. And I have this option as save view. I can click on this and it will also give me a very nice name for my view, and it will tell me that which database that it will store that information into. I can save that view as well into my database. Let me not do that right now, and let me show you how does it work with the other database. So for example, it has another tab with this adventure works, and it has 1,357 rows. And let's go through this database and see that everything is nice and in order. And you can click on this save view and choose to save this view back into your database. And for example, I'll not choose to save this view in my database because it's just a random query that I added, and I don't want to overburden my database with random views. So that's the idea of data view. You can explore it, and it's a very useful tool. You can also add these different queries and run them in different tabs. So yeah, you can edit them in different ways and select and see that what's inside that. It's a very nice and useful tool for data discovery. And let me close this window and see you in our next video with another tool.